I am Ronald Bonfilio, Executive Vice President of Public Accountability Safety Standards, known as PASS. PASS is dedicated to improving government. At this time, we are assisting elected and appointed officials to optimize their performance for the benefit of all. I am going to talk about the use of illegal drugs by elected officials reducing their performance. There is an avalanche of drug use descending on the villages of political activity. It is a silent, stalking threat that affects legislators, and therefore it affects families in our homes, personnel in our offices, workers in our industries, and children in our schools. Because it cripples our legislators and government, it also threatens national security. We must act now with courage to confront drug dealers, unscrupulous lobbyists, and special interest groups that encourage addiction and dependence by legislators for their group's personal gain. We must act now to assist the addicted with perseverance, compassion, and firmness. This condition has gone unnoticed, ignored, and denied. I believe as a nation, to deter national decay and survive, we will prevail against this legislative drug epidemic with truth and courage. It will not be an easy task. For example, the attorney for the District of Columbia has filed an opposition for elected officials, which includes himself, to be drug tested. Yet, the Attorney General enforces laws that require government employees, welfare recipients, and others to be drug tested. We have believed too long our elected officials and government leaders, because of their education and public service dedication, have been immune to this disease. The reality, which is well known, that substance addiction is a condition that affects all, regardless of education, income level, social position, or political party. The disease has struck Washington, D.C. with a vengeance. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration ranks Washington, D.C. as the highest user of cocaine and marijuana in its National Survey on Drug Use. There is no evidence indicating elected officials are immune from the disease. Drug use by political leaders is not new. Historians and journalists have documented the use of drugs by political leaders. Examples are Adolf Hitler, Vladimir Putin, U.S. Democratic and Republican presidents, Washington, D.C.'s former Mayor Marion Barry, and other legislators all have experienced cocaine and/or marijuana. Once political leaders are liberated, they will be able to optimize performance of their duties and create and implement the best policies in education, employment, crime prevention, and social services. If we do not expect the best performance from our government officials with clear minds 100% of the time, we will not effectively face our cities and country challenges. We want, we need, we deserve their best efforts. We deserve from those elected to lead and represent us to formulate solutions to our problems, conceive and execute compromises, and have the ability to negotiate differences with tact, integrity, and honor. This cannot be done by someone under the influence of drugs. The National Institutes of Health have documented the effects of cocaine. You can become angry, nervous, and afraid that someone's out to get you. You might do things that make no sense. Do we want officials to do things that make no sense when proposing legislation? After the high of the cocaine wears off, you can crash and feel tired and sad for days. You also get a strong craving to take the drug again to try to feel better. Does this make for a good legislator? The National Institutes of Health have also documented the effects of marijuana, changes in mood, impaired memory, difficulty with thinking and problem solving, extreme and unreasonable distrust of others, along with anxiety and depression. Again, the life of heavy marijuana users has been compared to non-users. Heavy marijuana users have more relationship problems, more job absences, accidents, and injuries. Failure for us and legislators to take action is failure to take responsibility for the well-being of our country and families. A start has been made. Courageous citizens and elected officials have taken the initiative to restore our government free from the crippling effects of illegal drugs. In several states, legislation has been enacted requiring elected officials to be drug tested. Some states, at one time or another, have tried to pass legislation requiring elected officials to be drug tested. Some of those states are Alabama, Arizona, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Texas, Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, just to name a few. But only a few were able to have passed legislation. This has been a start. More effort and successes are needed. In Washington, D.C., we have introduced comprehensive legislation to the Board of Elections so voters of the District of Columbia will have the opportunity to vote for legislation requiring elected officials to be drug tested. The District of Columbia City Council has not hesitated to pass legislation for others to be drug tested. However, the police and law enforcement personnel, firefighters, bus drivers, and school officials, though they are to be drug tested, the City Council never themselves have been allowed or wanted to take a drug test. They have refused to be drug tested. The legislation proposed is not very different from what the City Council has required others to do. They should be willing to do what they ask others to do. That is leadership. This legislation is directed at a small group of D.C. government officials. It applies to safety-sensitive personnel, which includes the mayor, attorney general, council members, and some agency chiefs and directors. Tests are to be administered by independent agencies, such as the Defense Intelligence Agency and the National Security Agency. We ask you to join us in this struggle to eradicate these addictions from our government, not by punishing and admonishing the drug addicted, but rather by suggesting and implementing incentives to liberate elected officials from their addictions. We ask not only for your financial support, but for your time to obtain signatures required for the drug testing initiative to be on the 2016 ballot, and your time to educate those for the need for this legislation. Thank you.